Well, good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Referees Corner right here on IslandStats.com. I'm your host, Earl Baston, and joining me are two senior referees. To my right is Lyndon Rayner, and to my left is Anthony Francis. Gentlemen, you guys have been working with a crop of young referees who have now joined the ranks. What are some of the things you guys have seen over the short period of time that these young referees have needed to help them get started along their journey of becoming officials?
Basically, it's the transition from being a player to a referee, having to apply the laws. Um, it's a bit more difficult for them because they're actually refereeing their own peers.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a big challenge. They got the stage fright, and also just them developing their knowledge of the law. They thought they knew the law, but and now find out that there's a lot more to it than just run up and down the field.
Anthony, would you agree with what Lyndon is saying that a lot of them thought they knew the rules of the game, but when they start looking through the book, they realize I don't know as much as I thought I knew.
It has been a great learning experience for us as the instructors to realize how much they don't know
Mm-hmm.
about the game of football that they play and love. I think we're more excited as instructors to give them that so that we increase the knowledge of the laws of the game and how we apply the laws as referees.
Yeah. Um, you have in the senior ranks, obviously, you have senior referees and you have some real raw guys who have come in and done a tremendous job. But did you see? There's a group I would say about 5 or 6 guys who have come in over the last 2 years. You've seen them like rise up the ladder. Were you guys surprised at how quickly they have taken to the understanding of officiating?
I, I have a few of them because refereeing comes from heart
Mm.
as well as
Mm.
knowledge. And to go there and to go all sorts of names, that can bring bless you. It takes a lot of guts to stick it
Mhm.
out, and the crop that we have, the youngsters, they actually seem to have a
Yeah.
good skin. So I'm encouraging them to stay there. It will get easy, but there'll be some rough days, but it will get easy. Um, so we have the likes of Amari, who has a lot of potential to go very far. There's a few youngsters, the only hindrance is the fact that because they're so young,
Mm.
we've got to find a way of keeping them in refereeing. Um, Tashawn is the benchmark.
Mhm.
Fortunately, he wanted this at a very early stage of his career because at 23 he has got to reach the minimum requirement. So with Amori and a few youngsters behind him, we've got to find a way of keeping their interests there.
Right. When you find youngsters who might start out as to say, okay, let me just do this because it could be one, community hours, two, I get paid. I'm just going to do it. But then you see it all transform into, hey, I really enjoy this. As instructors, does that make your job a lot easier? Well, initially it'll be difficult, but does it make your job a little easier that they're willing to come, go through the lesson plan, go through the rules, understand everything? Does it make your job that much easier?
It does make our jobs easier when we see the passion
Mhm.
that comes with refereeing. That's when it gets exciting for everybody involved. Um, we've seen it in the youngsters that have been identified, that they transition from let's do this for community hours or for the money to when we're calling for training sessions early in the morning or calling for them at night, and they're here putting in the extra time just to get better.
Mhm.
That makes our job so much more better.
As you guys see the end of your careers coming, but you see so many youngsters coming through, because I can recall when you guys first started, there weren't a bunch of youngsters coming behind you guys. It was a gap,
Yep.
you guys, and then it was another gap. But are you encouraged now that you've seen a handful, or more than a handful, of youngsters taking up the whistle, and if you can get 10 out of that, will be a big bonus for Bermuda?
Yeah, I mean, referee shortage is not something unique to Bermuda.
Right.
It's worldwide, even
Hmm.
at the highest levels.
Hmm.
So just for me, just to see the number of young people now taking up the whistle, having interest in taking the whistle is heartening. But we just got to keep them there.
Mm.
That'll keep their interest.
What are some of the things you guys are doing to ensure that they kind of stay around?
Well, first of all, hats off to our chairman. Our chairman over the past few years has done a lot to keep refereeing in the forefront of everybody's mind. Um, he's worked very hard. He's working hard now to get some incentives in. Um, Many of you have seen our new uniforms, but now he's beginning to talk about how do we send these young referees, once we've trained them overseas,
Mm.
to get that international exposure. The incentives are coming, and I think if we can keep the incentives and I guess and we can keep the crowd abuse at a minimum,
Mm.
I think we stand a good chance of being able to find not just one team, but two teams. Lyndon and I want to go. Lyndon and I want to instruct. We
Mm.
do, because that's where we are now. We're excited about what we have in front of us, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we can produce.
Mm. Mm. The, the influence that you guys had when you first started officiating, who were some of those people that helped you to mold to the person you are today as far as referee?
Uh, Well, for me, I had it directly because I had Brent Osborne as my lead supervisor,
Oh,
referees on the
okay.
influence. So I
So
had the
did he tell you
benefit,
you were no good with a girl coming referee?
yeah. So I had the benefit of talking to him on a daily
Right.
basis, telling me about his FIFA experience. That's what really piqued my interest in then. Uh, late friend Grimes, David Grimes. We talk a lot about football. We talk a
Mm.
lot about refereeing. So that was a driving motivator for me. Then you get Charlie Marshalls, Aston Pettis, and whatnot, senior referees who are always willing to give a
Mm.
hand and encouraging people to go no problem.
Who were some of those people? 'Cause I know you were still probably playing it, but just
Yeah. Hmm.
just a little
Just a
older.
little older. Just a little.
But who were some of those influences?
Well, my influences were directly those guys:
Mm.
Lyndon Rayner, Tony Mouchette,
Mm.
Stuart Quackle, Ribs.
Right.
Those guys were my direct influence because they were still refereeing at the highest level
Mm.
in Bermuda when I started to become a ref. And then, of course, you cannot discount Mr. Grimes. You
Mm.
can't discount him. He
Right.
he literally was, in my mind, the person that kept refereeing together in Bermuda when we were struggling.
Mm.
So for us to be able to, for me to be able to say that Gregory Grimes was literally my mentor,
Mm.
that pleases me so much so that I want to see the next group of referees become as good as they can.
Mm. Mm. Now that you guys, do you look at yourselves as role models, something that these guys can aspire to and go beyond? Obviously, Linda, you were you one of the people this at some point? I want you to answer it.
Yeah, I was. I had the distinct privilege of being AR and the NFL referee. So I see both sides
Mm.
of that spectrum.
Right.
Um, I'll tell you what, though, with the advancement of referee training,
Mm-hmm.
um, what they go through now, I didn't have back then. So the shows you how much football has changed
Mm.
and how much demand is now placed on refereeing to meet the challenges of really changing football.
Right. Do you think the technology hinders a referee or helps, could possibly help a referee? I only ask that because in all sports, the thing that is looked at and questioned the most is the decision made by the official, not the decision made by the player. So, do you think technology is a help or a hindrance to the game itself when it comes to officiating?
I think it's a bit of both.
Mm.
Um,
You use it as a learning tool.
it is a learning tool,
Hmm.
but we know what is driving a lot of these
Yes,
changes.
yes.
It's the good old dollar.
Hmm.
So there's a demand that referees, not just in football, but any official, to get the correct result.
Hmm.
The downside for me is that we're still losing the human element
Yes.
of the game. This game is played by the humans. We are not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. But sometimes I think the way use the video evidence to analyze games, it's almost like you are,
Criminal.
yeah, that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're really castigating the
Mhm.
referee, and I think it's unfair sometimes.
Yeah. I
But that being
very
said, it's there to help, and we gotta
yeah.
embrace it.
I challenge a lot of pundits that I call them pundits, or even people that are either on the radio or television with me about the way they chastise one decision when a player has made multiple mistakes. So don't tell me that one decision either won you or lost you the game when there were multiple mistakes made throughout the game by the players that won and lost the game. So that's why I asked the question about technology because again, you could watch any sport right now that uses technology. Most of the time, it's to question what the referee, umpire, or the judge has made or a decision on. So those are the things that I refer to as the fact that um, we wonder if it is a hindrance or a help. Now, again, you could use it as a learning tool, but not a judgment.
Well, in my mind, I tend to agree with Lyndon, and it makes our jobs as instructors all that more engaging
Mm-hmm.
because now we're trying to create, develop, produce, teach, instruct, guide referees to be excellent.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a learning tool, it is fabulous. Um, the unfortunately for me, I'm a technologist. So, and I've had the benefit of somebody's smartphone ensuring that my calls were correct.
Mm-hmm.
So, it in my mind, it is making sure that our referees, our young ones, become excellent, and that we minimize the amount of mistakes that we make.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes instructing for us, I think, a whole lot more fun.
Okay. Okay. Well, with Tashawn on the FIFA list now, and he's got a big task ahead to remain on this list, not just through 18, but then beyond. Um, we're how far are we behind in the next person or persons getting on the list as instructors? How far are we, or how much work do you guys think you're going to have to do this year to make sure we get another one or several come next year?
I think the problem we're gonna face is that there is actually a gap. The same gap we talked earlier about
Mm-hmm.
between Francis and other referees is that we have that gap now with Tashawn and those who are behind him.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The ones that we have kind of identified that has the potential to go on the list um, are almost 5 years behind Tashawn.
Mm-hmm.
So we are now facing this, we have to find, do we find someone that's close to Tashawn's age, who we can identify and kind of fast track through so we can get him onto that list
Mm-hmm.
ASAP. Though the danger of that is that you end up sometimes putting a person who may have the knowledge but not the experience
Mm-hmm.
of officiating on the list. And at the top level, it's no room for mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so therefore, you have to have not just knowledge but the experience of being in a high tempo game.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to probably have a little struggle there because not so much for ability wise, but age requirement.
Mm. And well, thanks for being honest because a lot of people will say, why not just put somebody on there? And you're right because we have to look at experience. We have to look at age because it makes no sense putting a 16-year-old who hasn't had the experience, as good as they could be,
Yep.
throwing them into a situation where it could ruin them from even officiating domestically ever again. And that's the fear, I guess you guys is. But when you guys are instructing, can you kind of identify people that you think "Oh, this person can go if they are you able to identify those type of people?
You, we've been doing this for long enough
Mm.
where you can see it in their eyes
Right.
when they're sitting in the classroom. We did a youth program just on the weekend with some of our national team players,
Okay.
and you could see it in their eyes when the light bulb goes on.
Mm.
I could be a referee,
Right.
but of course they're national team players,
Mm. Okay.
and that is the challenge that we have.
Mhm.
Um, how do you tell a 17, 18, 19-year-old stop playing football because you can go further as a referee. That's a tough one, especially when they're because at that age they're just getting into their slot,
Right.
and it's tough because we don't have those 21, 22, 23 rules that are jumping up and singing. But we have a whole crew of 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds, and now we're down to having to figure out how do we keep them for the next 7 years.
Right. And it's going to be a struggle, but as long as I guess you guys, once you guys finish learning the whistle, you stay on as instructors, which I think that's been your passion for the last few years anyway, and you showed the guideline in that way. Now, can we talk a little bit about the last few weeks of football? There's been a lot of on-field issues, and we had the match at Bandon on Sunday. Don't know all the details, so we won't go into that, but football could be a sport that brings a nation together, but it could also be a sport that tears a community apart. Over the years, you've been involved in a number of things that's going both ways. Um, the knowledge you pass on to current officials when they find themselves in a bad situation would be what?
If you made a mistake, you made a mistake. Right? Put your hand up and say, you know what, I messed up. Right? That's the first one.
Do you do it right then and there, or do you after the game? When do you do it?
What, as a player or
As a referee.
as a referee? You kind of, if you made a mistake in the game, it does get at you for those 90 minutes. Because not only are you going to keep reminding yourself that you actually did mess up, but the players and the spectators are going to be in your hair for 90 minutes. But it's part and parcel of the game. Like I said earlier, we're humans, we're going to make mistakes. And I think if people will accept that, that the referee honestly made a mistake, it's a lot different from a referee cheating.
Right.
Right. The problem we have in Bermuda, well, not just in Bermuda, but worldwide, is that the referee is the most hated person in the field.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes.
No matter how clear cut the decision is going to be, 11 people are going to disagree with you.
Yes.
Right? And if those 11 people disagree with you, then those 11 people's fans are going to disagree.
Even if they knew he made the right call.
Even if they made the right call.
Yep.
So part of it is you have to get into the referee and say, listen, they're not going to be your friends. Don't try to be their friends. You just go there and referee to the best of your ability. And then what I encourage referees to do is after every match, do a self-assessment. If you're honest with yourself and you're really committed to refereeing, you do a self-assessment, right? Because in your mind, you're going to go back and replay those critical incidents that made the most noise in the match. Right? And you do your self-assessment, you may realize that, you know what? One, I did get it wrong. Or two, no, I got it right. They don't know the rules. They just don't understand. Or it's their passion because the team's losing, the decision affects them. They just want to play me. Right? But then I tell them that after you've done that game, after you've done your self-assessment, you can walk away. Tomorrow's a new day, and you prepare for the next game.
And for you, Francis, what are you telling yourself prior to a game? Like, when you players psych themselves up the night before, you're in your bed early, you're doing that. And as a referee, I guess you have to prepare for the game itself. But your preparation is a little different because a player is looking to say, "Oh, I've got to beat Jonathan Rangers today. I've got to beat Linden. I've got to beat this person. I've got to beat that person." As a referee, you're I don't know what you're selling yourself, but you want to be straight down the middle, stick with the rules and all that. So how do you prepare? How do you prepare for, say, FA Cup final?
Ooh, an FA Cup final. Those are the games that we live for. So our preparation begins when we get appointed. We start thinking about it. We know who the teams are. In Bermuda, we have the benefit as senior referees of having seen these teams numerous times over the years. We know who all the players are. We know how the players are going to play. We know where the flash points are going to be. We know where the heads are going to be. We know what the field's like, but we go over all of this. The law book comes out again, just to make sure that, okay, let me read this because I may see something a little different. Our preparation, we begin to talk to our assistants. We talk to our assistants 2, 3 days ahead. We're talking to the office. Well, what colors are we wearing? Well, what our preparation comes down to nutrition. What do I eat the night before? How long am I going to have to go? Is it going to be hot? What field are we playing at? Who are the fans? Where are the exit points in the event of? So all of that goes into the preparation for a football game, and then arriving at the stadium. We like to get there early because we want to feel the atmosphere. We want to. I walk around the field so I get everybody. I know where all the fans are. Where's the fans that are going to yell at me the loudest going to be? So that I know where the voices are coming from. All of these things go into the preparation for a big match like that. I still get butterflies. I still get butterflies before big matches, where I'm starting to think, am I good enough for this? Really, having done multiple games in multiple countries, anytime you get a cup game, Lyndon always told me, whenever you get to a game, it is always the World Cup final. For us.
Right.
If you think like that, the preparation goes in. Because those two teams have tried hard. They've practiced.
Right.
They may not know what you've done. They don't know the extra hours that you put in running. They don't know the extra hours that you put in the book. But they don't care.
Right.
They have come to win a football game. And we want to disappear as referees. All we're there to do is facilitate the game. And we know the game is good when everybody comes and shakes our hands. And nobody talks about any decisions that the referee made. And it was, okay, we won or lost on the field. And those are the things that we prepare for. I tend to go through any of those critical incidents that happened before. And just knowing that the best team on the field has to win playing, and the referee team just simply wants to walk off. And that's what we do.
So, final question before we go. You remember your first game, Lyndon?
Yeah.
Who was it? Who was it?
I don't remember the date.
He doesn't want to remember the date. But that would age.
Well, when I tell you location, just it's a half hour more.
Okay.
PAC versus something.
Okay. Location.
At PAC
PAC Stadium.
She said zero people.
Wow, it was good. So how many years?
Yes, yes.
And he was rapping long before it cleared. So.
Yes, I was. I remember that game. This one was the first game I was appointed as a premier to a premier school. Got there early as per usual. And I think it was the first game we played. Got in the change room, and I came back out to walk into the game. It was like 2,500 spectators at PAC, and I'm like, wow, And if we talk about, Anthony talks about who's yelling out the loudest, and one enduring memory I had is Alison Lebron. At the time she was working for the police in Kenton, and so she saw me walking out, and she's letting me have it
in the Allison style.
In the Allison style,
yes.
And so that's always in my mind. That's always a special memory for me. Don't remember the result, which is not important. All I know is that I got to 90 minutes ago.
But they set you up, didn't they? At that time, Somerset and PAC was a big rivalry.
Yes.
Yeah, they set you right up. You were pointing to
I don't know. I think it was Mr. Grimes.
So it's either sink or swim.
Yeah. And sometimes, in all honesty, sometimes that's where referees get tested.
Yes.
Because if you can handle that match
Right.
in the local context, and I don't think games come any harder than those two games. When I look back, with no disrespect to any of the other clubs, but as you stated, Somerset and PAC had a first rivalry, 2,500 fans, that's your first game.
Yeah. What was that first mission really like?
I don't think I needed this.
Francis, do you remember your first game?
I don't remember my first game, but I do remember my first FA Cup one. It was up here. Um, and I had to make an offside call that took a girl away from a team, and fans were behind me and they were blowing up, and literally, Cal Simons walked up behind one line and said, "Excellent call."
Mm.
And that game, I hadn't refereed a Premiership game in my career, but I was appointed to the line on an FA Cup final because we were short,
Right.
and I had to make that call. And that call literally propelled me into what my career has become. Because at the time I was a student of the game. I was still playing commercial football
Right.
in commercial B
Right.
for Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
So you know how long ago that was.
1960s.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so to be appointed to that game, and I'll never forget, I got told by the office, Miss Candy,
Mm.
that I can no longer play football. That I could no longer play football. And I had to make a decision whether or not I was going to play football or be a referee. And I honestly wish somebody would tell me I couldn't play football.
Mm.
Refereeing has become that important. It is, I've been more places as a referee than I would have ever made it playing football. Especially good.
Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining me here on the Referees Corner, another edition in collaboration with Island Stats and the Bermuda Football Association. And we'll be back next week, Monday, for more Bermuda Referees Corner right here on islandstats.com. Good night.
Thanks, Rob.